Okay, here we go with another reaction and graphics improvements. I'm actually really excited to see this. Mainly because if this is like your first time watching my videos, I am currently going to school for game design. I'm learning in UE5. So a lot of this is very interesting to me, like seeing things that I haven't necessarily worked with. So yeah, let's let's just start. Fuck it. Let's just go. Let me make sure my settings are all good for this, and I'll turn this down a little bit. That way it's not too loud.
When we were first starting on the project, again, we were a super small team. We were tasked with making Conquest map and making it function. So that first playtest, we pulled over all the original SMITE assets, and
Oh yeah, sorry. Like seeing this. Yeah. Oh, they actually kind of have their stuff on the opposite side. Weird. That's probably just how they have it.
assets, and just seeing what
Wait, was that on a
Lumen did was
tablet? Was that a... Sorry, I don't mean to pause it again. Was that being done on like a tablet or something? Why is it like that? Maybe on a Mac? Huh. Trying to read what that says. I can't tell what it says. Either way. I mean, this is literally just like me being weird about it. You got a webcam, the actual gameplay footage up here, Unreal Engine right here. It's just kind of weird seeing it on something like this. Maybe it's just like a big laptop because I do see some stuff down here. I don't know.
my assets,
Cool.
and
Oh yeah,
just
they
seeing
just have
what
like the
Lumen
monitor
did
kind
was
of angled
actually
weird.
insane.
Lighting is a really deceptively
Oh, they're talking about
complicated,
Lumen. Okay.
artistic endeavor as well. Lighting can make or break your whole scene, all your characters, all your environment.
It looks like they're working with
it's challenging.
dynamic
You have
lighting.
to put in the time, have to put in the work to make it look good.
On SMITE 1, we did more of baked lighting, which meant when you had shadows, they were permanent. Now we have dynamic lighting, which
Yep.
means all of our materials actually.
See, and it's funny because I knew about dynamic lighting before Unreal, because I did. Excuse me. I do a lot of stuff, or did a lot of stuff in Roll20 whenever I would run like D&D games, and D&D, granted, Roll20 has a very like simplistic version of dynamic lighting, but it is very similar to how this works. So in Roll20, the way you set dynamic lighting up, it can be affected by how you set up walls and things like that. So depending on the power of the light, you set how many feet out it goes. You can set like how close the brightest would be, and then you can kind of add layers to it to where it's like, oh, 20 feet out it'll be super bright, but maybe like another 20 or 30 feet out it'll be very dim, and then anything past that would be like super dark. And it works around corners and all that kind of stuff. And this is very similar to that. This right here is a good way to show this. So let me, I'll do this right here. I'll just playback speed. Yeah, we'll do it at 0.5 and I'll mute it for a second. So like, see how they're dragging this light bulb across the characters and all that. So each light bulb would be like, that is the source of the lighting. And it affects the character model depending on where the source of the light is. It can light up things super bright at one point, like see how with how far away it is from Shock, it's lighting up this section of his body while kind of like casting shadows on the parts that aren't lit up. Same with Bologna, like as it passed in front of a Bologna, it lit up the front of her body a lot more than like the sides. And it even casts light on the shadows. Yeah, so you see how the shadow changes, how the shading and everything changes. Dynamic lighting's fucking crazy. It makes things so much more like interactive, I guess is a good way to put it. Maybe more I don't want to use the word immersive in this context, but it definitely like adds that extra layer of detail to everything is a good way to put it, I think.
To light, so foliage, capes,
Yeah, see,
interesting elements in the environment.
that if I had just waited, that alone right here, where they show the foliage and how the light affects the foliage. Watch the shadows.
Capes, interesting elements in the environment.
That shimmer, that was nice.
Look alive.
trying to understand how all the different Unreal assets talk to each other.
And I haven't worked too much with Lumen like at all, but I know of it. I know that it is in Unreal. I've done a little bit of lighting work and stuff like that on some of the projects or assignments that I've worked on, but nowhere near as heavily as like what they're doing.
Is a big barrier of entry. Instead of a god just having one ability and it's just one piece of code and it's relatively huge, abilities are split into a whole bunch of individual components that all have their
Oh
own.
Jesus, I literally just did some very like simplistic stuff with animations. God. Oh no. Footsteps. Yes, that's literally something I just did last week. Like applying the sound effects of like footsteps, tying it to the animation, that kind of stuff like that. This is it definitely seems like very standard stuff, but just seeing it and actually recognizing what they're doing here is really cool.
Functions
It's a
through
side
the
of
gameplay
gaming
ability
that I
system
didn't
or
know
gas system. Learning that
until like
and
actually
figuring
taking
out how
courses
it all
and
worked
shit.
together, how it all came together. Definitely overwhelming at first, but
Oh shit. I know Fenrir had the skin, but had they actually shown Fenrir until now? I don't think they have. Hang on. I want to see the model. I'm sorry. I do apologize. I just want to see the model because again, I don't think they've shown Fenrir until now. Look at that effect, dude. That slam. That's so nice. Okay. Yeah, the model looks good. At least from what you can see.
just got to get the reps in.
We did a little prototype of
Sorry,
chalk
let me-
bolting.
Just got to get the reps in. Functions
there we go.
through the gameplay ability system or gas system.
Got to get the
Learning
reps
that
in. Yeah.
And figuring out how it all worked together, how it all came together. Definitely overwhelming at first, but just got to get the reps in.
We did a
Yeah,
little
I could definitely
prototype
see that,
of
yeah.
chalk bolting and actually having lightning tendrils come off of him and spark onto
God,
the
dude,
environment.
I said this in a previous reaction. I think I'm gonna put everything in a. Oh Jesus, I just got completely sidetracked. Sorry, I saw this and had flashbacks. But I wanted to say this just because, like, seeing the effects. I mentioned this, I think, in the keynote where they were showing off a bunch of shit. These effects are fucking gorgeous. I mean, just look at that shock ult, man.
We did a little prototype of chalk bolting and actually having lightning tendrils come off of him and spark onto the environment.
The only thing that would make that better is if the lightning effects are kind of like randomized, not like the same every time. Granted, they're probably the same every time, but if they were randomized and like they would strike down in random spots in the AoE, that would be pretty cool in my opinion. That way it's not always this, it doesn't always look the same.
So with basically
that
no
looks
artist
great.
even coming in, just stock UE5, we had an incredible looking map, but it wasn't until seeing the
Wait,
lighting effect
did
in
he-
the order base where I
he
was
say
like,
with stock
off of him
stuff?
and spark onto the environment. So with basically no artist even coming in, just stock UE5.
Holy shit.
We had an incredible looking map, but it wasn't until seeing the lighting effect in the order base where I was like, if that's something that happened from just a simple straight port, what's going to happen when the artists actually get their hands on this?
Yeah, that's
Seeing the
fucking
upgrades
crazy,
we got
man.
just out of the box from UE5 was just awesome. But it was super great to see the nice surprise
Oh, it looks
upgrades
so
that the other
good.
groups were doing. Some of those, on the animation side, I didn't see them until I played that. And seeing that first new ice wall that Ymir has is just
Boom.
pretty.
I love it, man.
For Ymir's wall in SMITE 2, we can simulate destruction, and we can have that wall actually crumble into pieces, which is awesome. Bellona's hammer swing feels so much better with the new animation changes and the new audio. She's swinging around. You can really feel that impact. When in SMITE 1, it felt impactful, but in SMITE 2, it's really pushing that limit.
Yeah.
Previously, we would need
It's
programming for
it's
all.
hard for me to like just looking at it, it's hard to tell how to feel about it. And I think that's just because of like how I play games, because I get super immersed when I'm playing, but just watching video, it's different. But I could even just watching the differences between Smite and Smite 2, everything does look much more impactful, which is really good. The only thing I don't like that I have noticed in some of the footage has been like this weird like zoom in effect on the camera. I think one that I've noticed it happen on is when Ymir ults, I think. It does kind of this weird zoom in effect and then like snaps back out when the explosion happens. I'm not a big fan of that just because it does kind of like take away your camera, like how much of your camera view there is. Maybe they'll show it in this video, that way I can point it out.
Stuff. In the new engine, we can set up all the ability logic ourselves. So projectiles, deployables, repeated effects, ticking effects, combos, chain attacks, anything that plays in sequence or series.
Oh god, that
There's a
Anubis
lot
ult
of
looks so good.
cool things that we wanted to jump into, but it requires testing and making sure they work well
That I
with
love.
gameplay. So in that case,
Yeah, see, there we go. This is a good example of those. Like, just the differences of the animations. I love the new animation for the Anubis ult, too, by the way. It's so
There's a
good
lot-
looking. I'm going to mute here, and I'm just going to do the playback speed about 0.5. I went back too far, I'm sorry. Look at this, dude. I love this. It just has so much more, like, liveliness to it. On her here, it's just like, I throw 7 randomly appearing spears. The other version here, it looks like he's literally just like hooking them. 1, 2, 3, 4. I also noticed it's 5 now. This on her ult, I think, is 7 or 8. I think 7, if I recall correctly. Now it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Huge big one for the 5th. And there's just more animation to it. And look at the effects on the cape here. That's something I'll point out too. Like comparing to Smite 1, Smite 2, look at how the cape moves and everything. Oh god. Like even just the visual effect of that. That's crazy looking.
in that case, it was feeling out what looks good. That
Yeah,
is
see
worth-
this weird zoom? Right there. I'll slow it down here so you can tell. You probably could see it there, but just watch. Watch how it like zooms in. See, it kind of has this weird shakiness, and it zooms slowly in. I will say, in other footage, it looked like it zoomed in way more. This looks like it's been toned down a lot, and I like that. And then it has that snap back out. See, I'm not a huge fan of that, but did you see how much it snapped out when the explosion went off? Look at this. Boom. Like here, we'll do this one more time. So the top of Shock's head. Yeah, look at that. It was about right there. Boom. That's so much. I don't understand why they did that. I mean, unless they just wanted it for like that visual punch, maybe. I don't know. But it definitely looked way worse before. Like it looked like it zoomed in way more. That looks much more toned down.
On Smite 1, all the cloth, all the hair, everything, we had to hand key those presentations. Now in UE5, beyond the ability for the cloth to just in a lot of ways look better, it also frees our production time to better focus on the gods themselves, on more skins.
I could
and
imagine,
see
yeah.
where that can help continue to evolve the game.
UE5 was very forgiving on allowing us to have higher poly count, which means a lot of details in architecture or foliage elements.
Yeah,
There's a million ways
I can
to
see
do
that
things.
for sure.
And finding the right one is the hard one. I think
Yeah.
that with the tools and the power we have available to the design team right now, we're going to be able to make some
Even the sound of that fucking ult sounds so good.
really cool content for updates across the
That
alpha,
sounds
beta,
good.
and then into the future periods.
You know, all of us can look back and say, boy, I would have loved to have built that foundation this way. They've got to do it, and it shows. The effects look beautiful so
Yeah, see,
far.
actually, that's a good one right there. Where was that Ymir ult? Look at how much the Ymir ult like zooms in here. This may have been from old footage. Yeah, you see that? Like how much more that zoomed in? That was from some of the old footage. Like it actually zoomed in by a lot. And that's why I was saying I was worried about it. The newer footage that they showed here, give or take, looked much better. It doesn't zoom in nearly as far. It doesn't take as much control of your camera away from you. And one big thing with Smite is having control of your camera. Like if you do not have control of your camera and can like still have the same amount of view, then it doesn't work in my opinion, because you have to be able to move your camera still like normal, and you have to be able to still see. My biggest worry with that type of zoom in is it's going to take away from your, like, obviously your control, but then it could take away from your visuals. So if you're like watching down a corridor, all of a sudden, you know, it may cut off some of your angles from the side because of how much it zooms in, and I don't like that personally.
They've got to do it, and it shows. The effects look beautiful so far.
Oh god, that looks so good. That was the shield bash. I don't think we've seen the shield bash like just outright like that yet. I could be wrong, but damn, that looks good.
We've been working a lot on experimenting, creating new things, and adding new features to SMITE 2.
Items go crazy.
We are excited for our players to be able to play and experience it, all the hard work that we put in.
Every day, a new boundary gets pushed somewhere, and when all that really starts to add up and you get to see all that come together, it's just an awesome feeling.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm hyped, man. I want to see more. I want to see more. Give me access. I want it now. Closed alpha spring. So yeah, that's probably in the next few months, but still, like, I want it now. Give me alpha access. I did see they did this first impressions. I don't know if I'm going to watch this or not. It's 2 minutes, 51 seconds. I don't think I'll watch this. Maybe I'll watch it in my off time. Maybe record it, and if I feel like it's worth posting, I will. But I mean, I don't know what this would offer for a reaction. So I think I'll just keep it like this, and we'll leave it at that. Y'all take it easy. Laters.